Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. Today I'd like to talk about Guild Wars 2 and why I choose to play it. I've been playing on and off since it released way back in 2012, usually leaving to check out other games, but always coming back. But over the past year, I've been playing pretty regularly and even decided to make a YouTube channel dedicated to helping new players figure this game out and get started playing. So for this video, I'd like to talk about why I play in hopes that maybe it'll help you decide if this game's for you, and maybe give you a little insight as to how I managed to keep playing this time around and why I don't think I'll be going anywhere else anytime soon. So I think one of the main reasons I'm always drawn back to this game is that while Guild Wars 2 is an MMO, they're not afraid to switch it up and do things differently, something I don't see in many other games like it out there. For example, questing and quest logs basically don't exist in this game. In place of quests, we get dynamic events. These are live events that take place all over the world on every map. Think of a quest that plays out in front of you and you can choose whether or not you want to participate. And in some of the later maps, it's actually needed to complete events to spawn a map-wide meta event, requiring everyone on the map to participate. For me, this is a huge upgrade over the traditional questing system found in nearly every other MMO I've ever tried. I don't necessarily hate quests in small doses, but most games lay it on pretty thick. Not only is it required to do a lot of quests, but it's the bulk of the content. At least with events, I can choose if I want to participate, and when I do decide to join in, it's usually way more fun than any quest I've ever done. And joining an event is so easy. All you have to do is be present. After the event starts, if other players want to join in, it's as simple as them also being present. No looking for group, no parties, just jump in and play. Another big shakeup is the way that they handled classes, or professions, in Guild Wars 2. Rather than each profession having its own defined role, everyone can kind of do a little bit of everything. Through the elite specializations added with the expansions, you can further define a specific role, but this isn't the classic tank healer DPS system that you've seen, again, in pretty much every other game. Each profession can do damage, support, and has some kind of utility. In team play, this means that the emphasis is on the overall team rather than any one or two individuals in the party. In most cases, if a few players wipe, the party's probably going to wipe as well. Because there are no dedicated healers in Guild Wars 2, every profession has the ability to resurrect fallen allies. And this only increases the emphasis on teamwork because everyone is just as valuable as everyone else. And just because each profession can do a little bit of everything, doesn't mean that each profession isn't unique. For example, only mesmers can make clones of themselves, only necromancers can summon the dead, and only elementalists can swap between fire, air, water, and earth.
Water. Earth. Fire. Air.
Well, at least in this game. Another change that's probably huge for some players, but I happen to like quite a lot, is that there's no gear treadmill. When an expansion comes out, the game doesn't increase its level cap, and there are no new sets of gear with higher values on them. They might add a set of gear that has a new stat type, but this doesn't mean you need a whole new set of gear, it just means that you'll have to change the stats on your current gear, which is not that expensive. This means if you take a break from Guild Wars 2 and they add an expansion, you can come right back and start playing where you left off. And just because an expansion comes out without a level increase or a new set of gear that's slightly stronger than the gear you had on, doesn't mean Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a form of level 80 progression. Both elite specializations and masteries have filled that role pretty nicely. With the release of each new expansion, you'll gain access to one new elite specialization for your profession. This allows you to gain access to new weapons and can sometimes fundamentally change the way your profession works. Now, while this doesn't increase the damage you do, it does change the way you play. And I find this to be more valuable than any amount of stat increase or level increase that could be added and would be added in any other MMO. Because at the end of the day, while you are more powerful than you were before, you're still just the same class. And while that increase in power feels great in whatever new content was added, it ultimately trivializes anything that came before it. And with the mastery system, they apply this same philosophy for how you move around the world. Before Guild Wars 2 ever had an expansion, the main means of getting around was running or using waypoints to head back to places you'd previously been. Then, with Heart of Thorns, we got the ability to glide. And with this simple addition, the game was forever changed. Standing at the edge of a cliff now only means one thing.
Fly, you fools!
With the upcoming release of the Path of Fire expansion, we already know that our masteries will unlock mounts. And as you might have guessed, the mounts won't be like mounts in previous MMOs. Just like with gliding, mounts will be tied to the story, and while not everything's known about these mounts just yet, we already know that these mounts will have abilities that can be enhanced through that system. So rather than just getting a mount as a drop in some random dungeon, whose rarity is determined by how many % faster it is than other mounts, these mounts will be part of the story as you play through, and rather than just that flat speed buff, they're gonna have abilities. Each one's going to be unique in its own way. And I think it's the way that these things are always changing that keeps me coming back. I'm not necessarily coming back to the same game I left. But everything I just set aside, it doesn't matter at all if the game isn't fun. As long as I've played games, I think the most fun part has always been exploration. If you can agree with that, then this game might just be what you've been looking for. Despite being 5 years old, these maps still look beautiful. And even after I've 100% completed the maps, I often find myself returning only to find out that there was something I never noticed. Exploration is also pretty rewarding in this game. Even a good chunk of the icons on the map all tie into exploration in one way or another. And while I don't know that it's possible to get all the way to max level just exploring, nearly every part of exploring gives you some kind of experience. So if exploring another world just doesn't sound like that much fun, which I don't understand, but I guess I could get, then at least you can still use exploration as a means to an end. Another part of this game that's really fun and I feel like might be a little bit more universal than exploration has got to be the combat. The action combat in Guild Wars 2 feels really good. Not only do you have access to a dodge ability that essentially makes you invulnerable for a second, but all your skills can be used outside of combat as well. And this gives your skills a bit of utility. An example of this would be using a skill that flings your character forward to make a tough jump, or using one of your offhand abilities to grant a speed buff for you and your party. And rather than the typical wall of skills you're met with in a lot of other MMOs, your weapon skills are based on the weapon or weapons you have equipped. Also, weapons can be swapped at the push of a button for an alternate set. This leaves your UI way less cluttered, while still giving you access to a good range of abilities. In addition to your 5 weapon skills, you have a heal skill, 3 utility skills, an elite skill, and up to 5 profession-specific abilities. That's only a maximum of 15 buttons you have to worry about. On top of this, you can use the trait system to change up how these skills interact. The trait system, akin to a skill tree in other games, is one of the most flexible I've ever seen. Anytime you're outside of combat, you can switch the values around and try a new build, and you can do all of this for free. No respec, no paying a vendor to reset your skills, just make any adjustments you'd like and get right back to playing the game. Also, when you're out of combat, you can change around your weapons, utility, heal skill, elite skill, whatever you want. It's about having more than enough ways to play your class and deciding how you want to play it. Now, as with most MMOs, there's going to be a meta that people follow for harder content, but that doesn't mean you can't change that meta if you find something that works better. It's all up to you and how you want to play the game. Once you do have your build in a place that you like, it's time to put it to the test. You can check out the dungeons in the game that haven't seen much love in a little while, but are still pretty fun, especially if you're learning. Or if that seems a bit too long for you, you can check out fractals, which are mini dungeons that scale up in difficulty the further you play. Or if those aren't difficult enough for you, then feel free to check out the raiding scene. So now we get to the part of this video where I try and explain why I stayed this time. To me, this game has always been a beautiful place to explore and a fun way to fight enemies. I've always enjoyed the MMO genre, but I just don't feel like many try anything new. Not only that, but over time an MMO just gets stale. It just feels like the same boring thing you did yesterday. But with Guild Wars 2, just as things are about to get stale, some new big change goes into the game that turns the whole thing on its head. There was certainly a time where this game just seemed like it couldn't quite find its footing. It originally had a very ambitious goal of producing live content in the game that would dramatically change the maps. The only problem with that system is that players coming in later have no idea what happened before they got there. Since those days, ArenaNet has done all they can to restructure the game to a version of Guild Wars where you can actually play through it. While we can't yet go back and relive those events that they placed in the game years ago, everything released after that is completely replayable and even encouraged to do so. There were times where there was little to no content going into the game, and that was because of this restructuring. But now in 2017, I'm happy to say that it seems like they've got that all worked out now. About every 2 to 3 months, we get a new map with new currencies, new events, new bosses to fight, and a storyline that, compared to most other MMO storylines, is actually pretty damn good. And all of this was free for players who are currently playing the game. All you have to do when one of these events is live is just log in and you get it for free. Not only that, but this game has no subscription fee. The core game is free. All you have to do is make an account, download and play. And if you want an expansion, it's only about $30 each. Actually, right now they're running a special for both the new expansion and Heart of Thorns for $50. In my opinion, that's a steal for a free-to-play game, especially one that has so much to offer. Not only that, but this game isn't trying to waste your time. There are so many random small features they put in with the player in mind just to save us some time so that we can get back to doing what's fun, playing the game. Oh, is your inventory full? Well, no worries, you just click a button and deposit all your collectibles into your bank right where you're standing. Tired of salvaging items individually? Right-click a salvage kit and you can salvage it all at once. Are you curious about crafting but you don't want to get left behind by all your friends who are still leveling up? No worries, crafting gives you player experience as well. Honestly guys, I could go on and on about this game, but what it comes down to is what you want out of a game like this. If you're content playing the same content in different MMOs over and over and over again with slight variations and reskinning, then do that. This game is definitely not for you. But if you are tired of that and you want to try something new, download Guild Wars 2 right now. It's a free-to-play game. If you absolutely hate the core experience, then there's nothing for you beyond that. But I don't think you're gonna hate it. Unless, I don't know, maybe you just fear change. I don't know. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way through this, I really appreciate you taking the time to see if this game's for you. If you have any questions at all, if you do decide to start playing, be sure to check out my channel. I do mostly guides on the game and some news as it comes out. Trying to get a little bit better about the news portion of that. And if there's something in this video that you just still want to know the answer to and I didn't cover it, just ask me in the comments. I'm pretty good at getting back. If for some reason I don't respond, the Guild Wars 2 Wikipedia is one of the greatest resources and your best friend if you're just starting out. If you saw this and you decided to come back and play, or you're a new player and you're checking it out for the first time, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if this is everything I think it is, or maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. Anyway guys, as always, I'll see you in the next one.